Just kidding. I know we're already late. We'll just get right into this. Give me a second, guys. Welcome to Discord Syndicate. I'm your guy, Kinetics. Sorry about that, guys. We were too busy talking in the green room. We had a really good discussion. We're going to get into some really cool things here. I want to introduce this team. A lot of you guys may already be aware of them. I forgot that the videos automatically mute you when you pull yourself up. So I was trying to make you guys think I was going to make you wait another 3 minutes before we got started. And then decided to just go straight into the intro since you guys have been waiting long enough, since we're already late to the party here. So I want to start off by saying some of you guys are familiar with the fiat.io team, PHIAT.io team. I believe that is an Aave fork. If I'm incorrect, they will go ahead and correct me on that. But they have a new product that they are coming out with. Will be completely launched complete. So we'll get a little more information. I don't want to steal all of their thunder here, but I think it's worth noting that obviously our community itself is not a trading community. We a lot of us have taken very, very much to heart what Richard Hart says about liquors, ladies, and leverage getting you ruined. That doesn't mean that we as Hexicans don't want people to be able to short Hex. And then be able to laugh at them, point at them and laugh at them when they lose all their money. But hey, don't want to get too far into this. So I've got joining me right now is Hexistany Dylan and Mr. Buck Fiat, CFA. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, Ken. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet, man. So Hexistany and I have been talking for quite a while on Telegram. We've looked at doing some other projects together. I think there's still plenty of time in the future to do those things because there's so much that this fully integrated ecosystem really does need. But it looks like these guys are working on some pretty big things right now. So Buck, sorry, I kind of cut you off before you got to say hi. I apologize for that.
No. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the questions, a lot of the questions actually that I was going to even have, you guys have done a really good job on the famous PHAMOUS.io /facts FAQ of answering a lot of the stuff that I was going to ask you guys. So thank you guys for your forethought and taking that into account before guys like myself even had a chance to look at it. So I recommend that anybody here go take a look at this. Now, before we get into asking questions about this, I want to know I want to state to the community, this is not a paid promotion. There are no coins being divvied out to Discord Syndicate. This is not financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We do not know your individual education levels when it comes to finance. We don't know what your job is. We don't know what your risk profile, your tolerances are. So none of that is going to be discussed here. We're just going to talk about fully completed code as it's launched. Now, is there already audits done to this? Or are you guys planning on doing audits for this code?
So we have forked something called GMX, which is a very successful protocol that exists on Arbitrum and AVAX. That's audited. We will be conducting additional audits on what we're doing. We've changed a few things around as well. So yes, we'll get everything audited, but we're not releasing the code now. There's no reason to, because it would just be stolen by other people.
Yep.
We'll wait till Pulse Chain is live and whatnot to do that.
That's fantastic.
but it is, as you said, a complete project from the code perspective, and you can see it on Pulse Chain Testnet live on testnet.famous.io right now. So yes, that's a good point to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I know that's just the mantra of this community, and a lot of the people building in this community understand that, hey, if we don't have something to prove that there's not bugs in the code, why should we even operate with it? Now that makes sense. You guys do have working code on the testnet right now for the GMX fork, which is known as famous.io. You guys, your most recent product that you guys launched completed was an Aave fork, right, with fiat.io?
Yeah, so fiat.io was a fork of Aave v2. We've added some additional risk parameters around it as well to reduce its overall risk at the platform level. That was something we launched in May of this year on Pulse Chain Testnet. It was a quick kind of launch. Only took about 4 or 5 days. We like to bring products basically near complete or fully complete, to the community. That gives you guys the most ability to believe that we'll get there, right? As opposed to potentially bringing you something that's sort of half baked or whatever. So that's something that's in our DNA.
Fantastic. I like that, guys. I like the approach that you're taking. Now, Aave, it only has a V2 at this point in time, right? It's Curve that has V3. Is that correct?
Aave has V3.
Aave has a V3. It's under license, I think, until April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we won't get too much into that because I want to get into this leveraging platform, this famous.io. Can you tell me what GMX is, how you guys, not necessarily because I don't want to get you guys to give away trade secrets, but have you made any improvements to it, and how exactly does this work? It's all on chain leverage trading, correct?
Correct. So it's probably best if Dylan can maybe bring it up while we talk about it. So basically, with what we're doing with Fiat and Famous, we're trying to bring sort of traditional finance, borrowing and lending with Fiat, and then derivative risk management tools to the Pulse Chain Richard Hart ecosystem. Richard will tell you, of course, that leverage trading is a bad idea for most people, and he's absolutely right about that. But these tools are actually fundamentally useful. They allow you to basically hedge out your positioning. So if you try to imagine yourself, maybe in September 2021, when HEX was at 50 cents, you might have seen some guys in a church doing rap videos. That might be a good signal to potentially put a short on and hedge some of your exposure, right?
I hate to admit this because I was there that day, but it was definitely a top signal. It's it's hindsight's 2020 though.
It was the top signal that I used. So yes, thank you for that.
Well, next time you send me a DM, next top signal you see, you send me a DM.
Yes. So I could see that we were in the mania stage at that point of the cycle, and I thought, yeah, okay, this is a good time. But if you're fully staked or if you're not even 100% sure, you can put on a small short with a finite amount, and if you get liquidated, you're actually pretty happy, because it just means it went up, right?
Yeah,
whereas if you're right, but yeah, most people use these things sort of improperly. The other thing I'd say is that this is a DeFi solution, so fundamentally it's a lot more moral than what you might do on a more centralized exchange like BitMEX or someplace like Binance or FTX, right?
Yeah.
This is all on chain. You can see everything that's happening. There's no weird oligarch like Sam, potentially cooking the books, risk, lending your money out to somebody else,
giving your money away to other people to gamble on poo coins. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. So And then additionally, with this platform, you're able to stake a token called Fame, which effectively pays you the fees of the platform, around 40% of them. So it's almost like being an owner of a Binance or an FTX when you stake Fame. So you can see Dylan staked some Fame there, and he's being paid in PulseX and HEX and Hedron and Maxi, even Zen and USDC on the right there. So the idea is that basically the more volume the platform does, the more fame staking will pay you. So this, in my opinion, is another concept of why this is a better, more moral solution to this, because it means that anybody can take the long or short bet, but also you can be the house if you want as well.
And that was the question I was going to ask you. So instead of all of the rect fees going to BitMEX and enriching the founders, you can be an on-chain liquidity provider and essentially play a percentage of the house.
Well, so the liquidity providing is done with something called PHLP, which is yet another thing. But the Fame has literally just a cut of all the fees. So that's risk. The risk of that token is basically what are the future volume of fees going to be. So it's sort of a bet on this protocol being used more in the future. Whereas PHLP, you're actually betting against the traders effectively, that they're going to get it wrong more often than they get it right. And you're going to get about 60% of the platform fees. So this is really important.
Statistics are on leverage trading? Because I don't know off the top of my head, but how often, what's the percentage that, what's the chances that out of a pool of 100% leverage traders that they're going to get it wrong?
Yeah, well, it depends on the platform, but maybe 70 to 90%, depending on the platform. They get it wrong more often. They get it wrong more often than not, and that actually shouldn't surprise you as well, because if you're using this properly to do hedging or whatnot, you're sort of managing edge cases from a risk perspective. In the same way that when you buy life insurance, you don't expect to use it. And in fact, you hope not. You hope not to use it, right? So, so that's part of why you would use these sorts of tools correctly. Is that you're sort of managing, tail risk situations. One of which could be watching HEX go from 50 cents to 2 cents, right?
Yeah.
And that can also go the other way if you want to go long HEX. Like, I think in the next 6 months, there's going to be a pretty good time to go long crypto. You could sell your house and go long, or you could
not financial advice, folks.
Which is definitely not financial advice, because in my opinion that would be silly. But instead, you could take 1/10 that value, or 1/5 that value, or sorry, 1/20 that value. And start a long position with derivatives, and if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You haven't lost everything, like the guy in the trailer for the highest estate did, right? This is a better way to do that, in my opinion, from a risk management standpoint. So this platform is I think a big improvement over what's available in the CeFi world. And the important thing is these platforms will exist, and platforms like this that are less moral will exist regardless of whether or not we do this.
Yep.
I believe it's best that we create a platform like this, and then it's owned primarily by the community, as opposed to some guy like SBF or Sam. So it's a bit like owning your local pub or nightclub. It's better to have sort of community control over it, as opposed to having people doing these things,
I completely agree with that, because there's for the most part, most people I've seen in this community, especially those who have been around for the full 3 years, were already sold on the morality of Richard Hart trying to save people, and they're very moral people, and their intent almost always seems to be good. There's only been a few bad actors in the last 3 years that I've been here. And I think if these people are going to do this anyway, then at least give them a more moral place to do it. And enrich the community that's actually, in support. And as you said, I don't know if I'd say own it because there's no equity position in it, but that, that they're participating. The majority of participants are from the community.
Yeah, your language is more precise in that regard. Yes, correct. So it's a protocol, and yeah, but they will benefit from the fees of the protocol, and that's an important thing because the way crypto's set up, things like Binance and FTX, BitMEX, they're basically funnels for these guys where they just get paid fees and fees and fees and fees, and they end up becoming the biggest guys, and that'll happen to us in Pulse Chain as well. And there will be an appeal to authority when we do launch Pulse Chain. We'll be very excited when these exchanges show up, when these leverage platforms show up, because it'll mean that we're getting adoption. But on the other hand, we have to like fast forward and think ahead a few years when suddenly those guys are the new god whales, and they're not good guys like the god whale is, right?
He's been a very benevolent actor in this space, and we'd like to see players like him that have a quick, fast start with the such a huge portion of the value on chain, supporting the community rather than the bad actors that'll come in later, as you pointed out. So let me see here. I like your facts. Like the first question on your facts page is, what is Famous Protocol? Famous Protocol is the next project, which is famous.io, is the next project to come from the Fiat team. It's a leverage trading platform similar to BitMEX, but done purely on DeFi, which we have already discussed. We'll introduce it to Pulse Chain and possibly other chains as well, but you should have no expectations of anything except Pulse Chain. So is that, with that statement that you should have no expectations of anything except Pulse Chain, is that you want to make sure you guys get this right for the community the first time on launch on Pulse? Is that the intent behind that?
Yep, that's the intent. There's a little bit of hedging there just in case, Pulse Chain is delayed for a very long time. We might want to do something else somewhere else. I'll point out that we're launching Fiat on Ethereum in Q1 of 2023, for example. But yeah, we'll ultimately go where there's economic demand from the community.
Yep.
So if there's other places, and we would like to bring more people into the community as well.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that approach, but it's smart of you guys not to promise as much. I think we've got some scratchiness going on there. That was you, huh? Wasn't it? I see you. It went away when you muted yourself there. Right now, the live demo is available at testnet.famous.io, and that's what we're looking at right now, right? Yep. Okay, I see it now. I didn't see it at first, but I see it up there in your browser bar, testnet.famous.io. And so here you can stake the fame and you can provide PHLP liquidity. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep, that's correct. So Fame, as I said, is the platform token, gets 40% of fees. PHLP is a little bit different. It's like a Uniswap LP pool, where instead of two pairs, you get all the different pairs, all the different tokens on the network. And that's effectively providing the LP and taking a bet against the people going long and short, that they'll get it wrong over time. So it acts like a bit of a balanced portfolio. It's going to be about 60-40% crypto stablecoins. And so it's actually a pretty nice little diversifier. When you provide, let's say HEX as LP to this pool, you then have exposure to all of those tokens in those weights that you see there in the composition. And then you get paid fees additionally in all of those as well. So it's a nice little way to potentially earn APY on other forks of this. You're looking at around 10 to 20% APY usually for this. But you do bear the risk of impermanent loss if the traders get it right all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I like your I like the stats from earlier if you're a betting man. So I got a question on the USD coin. Do you guys really plan on supporting USDC, since we don't know? And okay, so this is a two-part question. You guys really plan on supporting USDC when we have no idea if it's going to have any value, which we they've already come out and spoken that unless it's on the official Ethereum chain, that they are not going to be supporting the coin on their end. And the second part question to that is it possible to add and remove coins later after the protocol has been launched?
Yep. So that's a great question. So the way PulseX is currently set up, I think $1 is officially pegged to USDC on testnet. So that's why we've used that. But
it looks steady right there on the pricing sheet for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But in reality, we don't know what stable coins are going to be available. We're gonna have probably the wrapped in ones at first, I would imagine, that are going to come over from the bridge. Those are probably more likely candidates to be used as stable coins in this protocol. And the answer is yes, we have the ability to add them and move the weights around. Over time, I'd like to add some of the other newer ones that come, maybe from Liquid Loans guys, USDL. I know the Coast guys are working on something like that as well. But we have to take that slowly and be very careful, especially with anything that's algorithmic. As well. But yeah, both of our products, Fiat and Famous.io, are going to be big users of stablecoins, and not just one stablecoin. But we do not know yet what Pulse Chain is going to look like. So the lineup of tokens there is more or less
the ones we're aware of right now that we know are coming over, and have some kind of support to them.
And not everything on that list will actually probably be there. When push comes to shove. I put Zen there because I think it's a great short. So
I mean, only if you're looking at since inception of the coin. I mean, not that trend lines mean anything, right? So.
Yeah, no, I still think it's a good short, even today. But yeah, so that's more just as a give people an idea conceptually of what's going to be there. But what's likely to be there is going to be your Richard Hart coins, and I think Hedron is pretty likely. And I'm very curious about the Maximus stuff as well, because then you can start to go long and short different periods of their different 5-year, 10-year, 15-year coins, which is interesting because we'll start to see kind of what HEX is worth in the future, in the same way that we see that you have a yield curve in bonds. People can potentially try to make ARB bets and things like that on that. So that's something I'd like to add over time, but it's still very much an open book, what we'll ultimately use.
So the admin keys sound like you've got the ability to add and remove things from the platform, tokens from the platform. What kind of assurances do we have that the admin keys aren't something that could rug or pull liquidity? Well, that's one and the same thing, or have some other nefarious means to it behind it.
Yeah, so the admin keys that we do have, they're we like to call them governance keys, because they're specifically, in our toolbox to. Can you hear me, Ken?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, I think Buck is having some connection issues. But yeah, so similar to both of the protocols that we're forking with Aave and with GMX, there are limited access keys that need to be had so that you can add and remove coins, you can set risk parameters,
So let me ask, is there any way for you guys to pull liquidity?
No.
Is there any control over liquidity? Okay.
No, yeah.
So when we have someone like Hex Hodl here say at least it's a self-custody trading, I still have, with keys to my wallet interacting with this contract, there's no way that you as a team have access to those keys, correct?
Of course, 100%, yeah.
Well, that's that's going to be very important to this community, and so it's worth asking and mentioning. And I figured that was the answer that I was looking for, but I wanted to confirm with you guys first. And I know you guys can't release the audit and the codes until after we release on Pulse Chain. So or after you release on Pulse Chain, because I have nothing to do with the team. But it's just worth noting. So I hope not upsetting anybody with that question, but it's definitely a question that begs to be asked.
No, yeah, it's a very reasonable question, right? But these things, we need to be able to adjust things, set parameters and things like this. But in no way do the keys have any sort of access into the honeypot per se, right?
Okay.
So,
which
the admin key is a good example of Richard providing general advice. On average, you want to avoid admin keys, but you can't avoid them all the time. Just like on average, you want to avoid CeFi exchanges, but sometimes you need them as well.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't drink all the time either, but sometimes it's good to have a drink with your friends. It's that sort of thing. With this, we call them governance keys because admin keys obviously triggers a bunch of people. But we don't have the ability to steal your money. Look at the code audit. Look at GMX. It's doing just fine. And our fork of Aave Fiat is the same way. We want to have control of these risk parameters because we believe we're the people that know this protocol the best. We're very close to the community as well. If there's an issue down the line, let's say something's going wrong with who do I pick on here? The Zen contract. We'll be aware of it and we'll be able to manage that risk. And this is in line with what Richard suggested. Having people vote on these things is dumb. You want to have the guys that actually understand the protocol very well do that. And from our background, Ken, we are traditional finance guys with very deep computer science backgrounds that manage risk every day and have done for the better part of 15 to 20 years for most of us. Cool. So this is part of our DNA. This is part of our DNA, and understanding these sorts of tools and risk management is what we do for a career, right? And that's why I think we're one of the best placed people that are within the community to build a product like this. This is being done entirely internally by our team.
Okay, we can understand that,
and not by any consultants or anybody else external, right? So
I like that.
we're responsible for what we do.
We've all seen the projects where they depend on an outside consulting team, and then they inject some malicious code or another address that can just flush all the funds. And so it's good to hear that that's not the case with this, because it's going to be a concern. So it's worth asking. I like this question here from UFO to Go. The lending pools can be moved around by admin keys. So the governance keys cannot move the lending pools, right? Just the risk parameter weightings on them.
Yep, that's right. So you see the weights there. We want to be able to push that up and down over time or add new cryptos to that. So we literally looked at what we think is likely to be the volume, on each one, and Pulse is probably going to be the biggest volume, we think, just because it's going to be the most broadly traded token, most likely on Pulse chain, being the native token. But then, as things get riskier, those weights get decreased. So even if one of them had a catastrophic failure, let's say, it wouldn't necessarily be, a failure for the protocol or anything like that. But we'll be running this very conservatively, especially in the beginning. We don't want to have, we're not going to be in a rush to put things out or add tokens if things are highly volatile. That's an important thing to do, and the community should be patient with us as well on that front, because you want to get these things right, and you don't want to let people down.
You don't want to move fast and break things when lots of money is at play here. I understand that, and I think that's smart. So I think UFO to Go's asking some good questions. Must have a background in computer science of some sort, or at least some blockchain coding. But can wallets be given privileges at any time with this code? I'm not certain what that means. Maybe you can decipher that for me. I'm not afraid to admit I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure what he means either, what he's getting at, but the answer is no.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So I want to, again, preface this for the community. I am not condoning or asking anyone to support any kind of SAC phase, anything. I did participate in the Richard Hart SAC phases, me personally, because I know my risk profile. I can't speak on behalf of everyone else's. I know what my long-term goals of where I put my money and what I plan on doing with that money in the later future. But with that being said, you guys are going to be doing a sacrifice, correct?
We will, yeah, and it's looking to be next week, probably around the 9th of December.
Okay.
It'll be limited, and it'll actually be a 2-for-1. So we're launching fiat on Ethereum, as I said. So we'll be giving a portion of the fiat on Ethereum tokens to the people who sacrifice early for this one as well. So
Okay.
you'll get the best rate. You'll get the best rate on Fame token, which is this platform, as well as some fiat on Ethereum, but not fiat on Pulse Chain.
Okay.
So that's kind of the main reason to do this now. As a matter of fact, it's to create TVL that we can
Okay.
use for fiat on Ethereum. So we'll do a limited SAC phase. We're not overly greedy or anything like that. But yeah, it's primarily just so that we can get fiat going on Ethereum over the next quarter. So that's coming. And then the other thing I wanted, because I do have to run in about 25 minutes, I wanted to show you a little bit of, Ken, if it's all right, is our Fatty platform.
That was my question. I put it on the thumbnail because I want to know what Fatty is. I want to know more, and
Yeah,
there's no details on it yet. So yes, please tease
yeah.
us with this. In the meantime, tell me what we're sacrificing for if we decide to participate in the SAC window.
You are sacrificing for the right to free speech, and that includes hate speech against HEX.
Okay.
So you're sacrificing for the right to let haters wreck themselves shorting HEX. So
In
I've
the
had
Richard
some.
Hart community, it looks like. I like the way you guys worded that. The freedom to
We're
let
so
Hex
we're
haters wreck themselves betting against the Richard Hart community.
That's right. So I've had a number of reverse inquiries from some very prominent Richard Hart skeptics already that are excited about the concept of being able to short HEX.
Yeah.
So this is Fatty. This is Fatty.io, and
Okay.
we will actually be releasing this as an alpha testing version to you guys in the next couple of days. But what this does is it's sort of Dylan, maybe mute yourself, mate. It aggregates all your wallets and looks at all the different protocols in the Richard Hart ecosystem, as well as other chains like Ethereum, BSC, and whatnot. And it basically gives you one big number in the top right if you scroll up, Dylan. That tells you what you have. So Dylan's got exactly $60 million right now. Unfortunately, most of that's going to be on Test Pulse. So yeah, it's not real money for Dylan. But this will also show you what you've got on Ethereum, and it basically gives you a really good idea of what's happening. So
I like the
things like this.
Helgorian token being on there, by the way. Just love that.
Yeah, we got Helgo. But it also shows you what's happening in your protocols as well. So fiat.io staking will be there. So you can see, what you have deposited, what you have borrowed, what you've earned. It's going to have support for eDraw.
So it's essentially an aggregator of information on your wallets to let you know what you're currently participating in. Because I know the one thing that kept me from getting involved too much with any of these farm, obviously, other than the fact that people were pulling liquidity and it was that was an attack vector I didn't want to participate in. But a lot of this farming and LP providing and all these different things in these contracts that you can interact with, is that with that comes a lot of record keeping, making sure you're staying on top of this stuff, making sure you're getting in and out of things correctly and at the right times with the right trades. And then, of course, making sure that you actually have a transaction record for those of us that we minimize our taxes, but we still pay our taxes. And so I don't recommend anybody try to skirt paying your taxes. Just legally find ways not to do so, or at least minimize your tax liability. But it sounds like this platform right here helps with the aggregation of all that information.
Yeah, and it's also not just about that; it's about understanding your risk as well.
Okay.
So you need to. So Dylan's got a wallet there that only shows Ethereum, but now he's added one that has Ethereum and Test Pulse. But you'll be able to add all your wallets together into bundles and see, where your risk is. And you can go, oh, actually, I've got too much risk in BSC, let's say. Or what are my total cash levels, right? In my opinion, you always want to have some cash. So there's some hedron for you there, if you like hedron. So it's an important tool for that. But what the other thing I'm trying to solve here is, because Richard rightly doesn't want to promote third-party products, because he doesn't know if these people are bad or if they're going to mess up. I'm trying to solve that problem a little bit, so that we can see all of the cool DeFi stuff that's happening on Pulse Chain. And the things that exist like this already, things like Zerion, they don't tend to support HEX, right? Like HEX staking or anything like that. And that means I think they're unlikely to support things like fiat or liquid loans or Power City or whatnot. So we're going to be committed to kind of onboarding all those things to this. And it's really important that you are able to do this. And part of managing your risk, which is what fiat and Famous.io should help you do if you're using them properly, in my opinion, is understanding your total positioning, right? So like, we can look at this right now and go, well, Dylan, in your wallet, you've got, it looks like a pretty big exposure to Pulse Chain. So you might want to consider diversifying a little bit. It's just an important part of portfolio management to get these sort of big picture understandings of what risk you're taking. So we think this is a nice little tool, and we're probably going to make this available to you guys over the next few days to test out and have fun with. And part of what's really nice about this is you can sort of toggle between the different protocols. So like on the left side of the screen there, Dylan can hit the Famous button, and it'll take him to the Famous website, and he can go to the fiat website, or he can get to liquid loans or Power City easily as well. So this is really highlighting what what we're building as a community as well. So I think this will make us more of an ecosystem, a broader ecosystem, and Richard doesn't have to take the risk on us.
I like that. And trust me, I understand more than anyone all the things that we're doing that we know we have Richard's support on, but it doesn't come out and publicly talk about these things. So I understand that. I understand that better than most.
And
so one thing I was going to say, Dylan, there's no token for this. This is just a free thing that we built. We hired a consultant to do it because it's pretty grunty in terms of work. So the team's not doing this one directly. We're just sort of giving them directions, and they're building it. But yeah, there's no token.
I was going to say, this isn't interacting with any of this. This just gives you the tools to monitor. Yeah,
correct. And we think it's useful because it basically lets you understand your total position. Like if you don't have this information for your portfolio, you really shouldn't be trading. You should know. You need to know what your position is. So like if you find yourself just massively overweight in something, this should help you identify that, and then you can think, okay, well, maybe it's time to diversify a little bit. And it also will let you. This is maybe how we will monetize this in a sense. You can click the button there for earn for Test Pulse Fame, for example, and that'll take you over to fiat, and you can earn APY that way. But yeah, in general, what we're trying to do here is create full risk management suites in what's called a house of brands that all begin with PH. House of brands.
I like that.
Yeah. So like Unilever is a good example of a house of brands, or Kellogg's, right? They've got all the different cereals, right? So that's sort of what we're doing. We want to catch up to what is happening on Ethereum. We don't have a vibrant chain if we don't have the best of DeFi, and that's what we're trying to do. To the community.
So my concerns with with Pulse Chain coming out is that obviously the existing tools that exist on Ethereum that are successful or at least functional and work, there's no guarantee they're going to be supported. In fact, there could be quite a contention against whether it'll ever be supported. And on top of that, even if they are supported, they still will only support the traditional tokens that they like on Ethereum that are copied over to Pulse Chain. So seeing someone within our own ecosystem provide tools and platforms and opportunities using the tokens that our community is familiar with and like and believe in, I think that right there is a boon to itself right there. So I commend you guys for stepping up to take on, because this, I can't imagine this was been an easy challenge for you guys.
No, I mean, there's probably handfuls of people in the world that can do stuff like this. And the reality is most of them wouldn't bother to come to Pulse Chain to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
There's fertile hunting grounds elsewhere for these guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of a question I get all the time. What are you going to do if Aave comes? What are you going to do if GMX comes? It's like, I really hope they do, because we'll all be so rich by then. If that's what happens, that won't matter. But
like
in
reality,
reality,
the idea of that.
In reality, I think it's going to be an uphill battle at first with these sorts of things, because I think a lot of people in the community think that everything just automatically works because we've copied the ETH state, but that's not actually functionally true with many of these protocols, right? So most of them will just sort of be dead and unsupported, as he said, and that's likely to be the case for quite a while. They're not going to be comfortable with the OA, many of them, and that's something we're comfortable with. We understand the risks of the OA well. They're not going to, even if they do understand the OA, they might not want to risk their brand on it. You know, if you're Aave and you have a multi-billion-dollar protocol and a huge brand across many chains, it's less likely that you're going to come to Pulse Chain then and risk it. So I do think the impetus is on us as a community to build good tools and that make Pulse Chain as vibrant as other chains. And the thing is, what we are likely to get is people who really don't care about us, that will do sort of half-assed jobs on these things. Yeah, and will show up and basically hose us left and right. That's definitely coming.
That is going to come. There's going to be a lot of scams and a lot of rug pulls and a lot of legitimate appearing products that do not hold the test of time. And so I like what you said earlier, that there's only a handful of people in this world that can do this, that have the capability, and an even smaller pool of people that care about this community. And because of that small pool of people in the world that can do this, that's why they didn't ask me to be part of the team, guys, because I provide absolutely no value on that front. So so I appreciate you guys being willing to be the stalwarts for the community and bring us these tools when no one else will. Again, just disclaimers out there, not telling anyone it fits within their risk profile to invest in these things. In fact, to me, it's all play money in games, and you're playing an internet game that may or may not make you money depending on how you play it right. I don't even look at it as an investment any longer, but I like the tools that you guys are building. Can you answer me this question real quick? Who will be responsible for the code that creates lending pools and other updates? This is written into the code, and without it, the fiat protocol cannot expand its services. Did I lose him again? You there, Buck?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not sure what he's getting at with that question, but yeah, the fiat team is the answer.
The fiat team. Fiat team is the one responsible for the code that creates lending pools and other updates, and those are with the governance keys, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that's good enough for me. I just thought there might be some genius in that question that maybe I was missing, but so I appreciate you guys being willing to address all of these questions today. If you guys have any other additional questions, how can we reach out to you?
Film.
You can follow us on Twitter. I can post the link to the famous Twitter account, Famous Crypto. in the chat. The best way, I think, would be the Telegram, which is in my name, t.me/famousx. And then you can, DM me personally by just @TexasDanny, or you can DM Buck personally just @Buck_fiat, right? But yeah, definitely join the Telegram and keep your ear to the wall and ask as many questions as you want in those chats and stuff. So.
Right on.
We'll be doing it. We'll be doing AMAs all week.
Okay.
All the info is on the website, famous.io. Yeah, reach out to us. I think we're very happy to interact with the community and answer questions.
In my experience, that is a true statement. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, reach out to these guys. Check out t.me/famousx to get a little bit more information. And is there anything that you guys any wisdom you'd like to impart upon us before we go?
Yeah, so I think right now, Dylan, your mic's.
I got him. I got him.
There you go. Yeah, I think right now we're just in a sort of a contagion event in crypto, similar to 2008. Be careful, but this is the time, having lived through that professionally in financial services. This is the time to really make your future right now. You should be excited about what's happening in the world of broader finance. This is a tremendous opportunity to and really the critical moment, I think, to set yourself up over the next decade, everybody. So don't be afraid.
I see this new crypto craze coming in, being the equivalent to the 2009 2010 real estate buyers, that when everyone thought they were crazy, they were buying up every piece of property that they could, and over the last 10 years have done amazingly well. A lot of the same to be said about tech stocks as well over the last 10 years. So I think this is the new asset class that has that same potential after 2008. So thanks for bringing that up, Buck. I appreciate you guys. Did you have one last thing to say there, Dylan?
No, join our Telegram. Stay posted on the updates. Join us for an AMA in chat. We'll be having one this Friday with the devs and everything. So, if you have any questions coming in, hit us. You guys are great.
Stick with me here for a minute before you guys go. I know you guys have a hard stop and we got to go. But in the meantime, the rest of the family, thank you, chat, for joining us today. I think this is definitely worth looking at. And outro.